for opening up for our second webinar. So my name is Rob McConnell. I work with UN Fleet, and I will be presenting this with my colleague, Kata. Kata is also a finance expert, so don't worry, we've got plenty of expertise in this session, haven't we, Kata? So what we would like you to do is, as Kata and I progress through the presentation, if you have any questions, we would like you to post the questions in the chat. What we'll do, if you can just type your question into the chat, then after we've completed the presentation, we will go through the questions you have posted, and hopefully we'll be able to give you answers to all of these questions. So I would just also like to say at the beginning that here we're giving a very practical overview, quite simple, of the UN Fleet Insurance. In addition, on the UN Fleet portal, which I very much hope that many of you are aware of and perhaps you have visited, there's further information. There is more detailed terms and conditions of the UN Fleet Insurance. There is an infographic which explains, highlights the process that takes place if you want to make a claim on the UN Fleet Insurance. And there's also a link to what we call the Vehicle Incident Reporting Form, which we will discuss as we go into the presentation. But basically, all of that material is available on the UN Fleet portal. I'll show you where it is at the end of the presentation, so you can go and look at that in more detail after that. So as I say, between Kata and I, we are going to run through the presentation, and hopefully at the end of it, what UN Fleet UN Fleet Insurance is will be clearer, and what processes need to be effected as and when there is a claim. Now, we realize, we fully understand that vehicles in operation suffer damage, whether it through a crash, whether it be through any number of circumstances. The vehicle might be stolen, the vehicle might be broken into. Our objective is to ensure that any UN Fleet vehicle that is damaged in whatever way is repaired professionally and quickly as possible, to ensure that that vehicle does not remain out of service. So we are very keen, if there is an incident, we'll explain the process. We want to see that vehicle repaired professionally, and put back into service in the shortest possible time. And as we go through the presentation, we will explain how that happens. Kata, do you want to add? Kata and I are going to share the presentation, so I'll ask my colleague Kata just to add before we kick off.
Rob, I think maybe you can continue.
Okay.
Kata has a problem with her mic.
Okay, no problem. All right. Okay. So yes, we can see we can see in this picture on the slide, crashes happen. It's an unfortunate thing that occurs. We know they exist. It's a practical event that happens when you're managing a fleet, and we want to find a quick solution to get vehicles back on the road. So if I could have the next slide, please. So as we go through this agenda, we're talking about what is UN Fleet Insurance, what is covered by UN Fleet Insurance, and very importantly, what is not covered, and what is the process if you wish to make a claim following an incident when a vehicle is damaged, as I say, which we know is normal to happen. Thank you. So what is fleet insurance? Next slide, please. So Actually, I love this picture. I love this picture. So there is a vehicle that has been caught in a flood. There is a driver trapped inside the vehicle, and these guys are trying to get him out. Obviously, this vehicle is going to be seriously damaged as a result of this incident. But it makes me laugh that the guy is helping with one hand, but he's holding an umbrella because he doesn't want to get wet from the rain when he's standing in a river. Now, that I don't quite understand, but I think pictures always make me laugh. So, we insure ourselves. UN Fleet is a self-insurance. So basically what happens is embedded in your monthly lease rate, there is a contribution that goes to the self-insurance fund. So when there is a claim and we need to pay for the repair to a vehicle, we take money from that fund and pay it to cover that damage. Quite straightforward. As I say, the contribution is included in the lease. The contribution is currently fixed. And as I say, it's embedded in the lease rate. But that contribution, we do reserve the right to change that contribution over time if we are seeing very high number of claims. So we aim not to change it, but we reserve the right to change it. There are no deductibles. So that means UN Fleet will cover all of the costs of the repair to a vehicle. Can you thank you, keep your mic off, thanks very much. It's great to see we got 50 people engaged in this. It's excellent, very pleased to see so many. Welcome to you all, but please keep your mics turned off. So there are no deductibles. So, you know, in some commercial insurances, perhaps you can choose, you pay the first $1,000 yourself and the insurance company pays the rest. UN Fleet has no deductible. We pay from the first dollar of the claim. And indeed, there are no policy limits. We don't have exclusions. We say, no, but we can't cover that. Oh no, that area is not insured. Everything is covered. So it's quite unique and is not really comparable to any commercial insurance that is available. If we could go to the next slide. So we've still got a lot of people joining, which is excellent. Yeah, welcome everybody. Keep joining. That's it, mic's off. Okay, so what is covered by this insurance? As I say, everything is covered really. Any vehicle incident. When we say a vehicle incident, it could mean a crash. It could mean your vehicle was parked and another vehicle hit your vehicle. It could be that the vehicle was involved in some incident, any number of things. If that vehicle has been stolen, we will refund it. Political violence, that is, you know, we've had a number of claims in different countries associated with political violence and unrest where there has been rioting or even fighting and vehicles have been damaged. Act of God, and I think that probably the picture of the vehicle submerged in the flood and earlier in the presentation is perhaps considered an act of God. And then we have any other loss or damage to the vehicle. And indeed, finally, we also include any defects that might occur to the vehicle while it is under lease. As I say, if you have any questions on these, please just type your question into the chat and Dimi will be monitoring that and we will go back and cover all of the questions after I've completed this short presentation. Okay, so next slide, please. Now, as I say, it's very important to understand what is covered by the insurance and also to understand what is not included or is not covered. And the most important thing is third-party liability. third-party liability is not covered by UN fleet insurance, and it is a requirement that all vehicles leased from UN fleet must be insured in the country of operation with a local third-party insurance. Many organizations also have an additional third-party insurance, which is managed at HQ level. In most countries, local third-party insurance is a legal requirement. Very often you can't get a license or the registration for the vehicle unless you can prove that that local third-party insurance is in place. We are aware there are certain countries where third-party liability insurance cannot be obtained. And I think yesterday we had the example of Afghanistan, in which case, if for any reason local third-party liability insurance is not available, the country office concerned must approach their HQ to sort out and to provide that third-party liability cover. Because as I say, UN fleet does not include liability insurance. We will explain this a little bit further in more detail as we go into a couple of scenarios later in the presentation. So we've talked about what is covered. We've said what is not included in the UN fleet insurance. And if we could have the next slide, please. What happens when we have an incident? We use the word incident because incident can be used to describe a whole range of different circumstances. It could be a collision. It could be damage to your vehicle that you don't even know how it happened. Somebody drove into it and then they drove away and damaged your vehicle. It could be a fire. There could be that circumstance that we saw in the picture earlier on where the vehicle was damaged because it was flooded. It was in a river during a flood. So any of these circumstances, we call that an incident. An incident is some event that leads to some damage to your vehicle or to the UN fleet vehicle that you are using. So when that occurs, what happens? Because we do understand they occur. It is normal that we can expect that vehicles will be damaged in day-to-day operational use. We never expect there to be no incidents. But if incidents do occur, we strongly encourage you to report them, because then we can quickly and effectively repair the vehicle, which, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, is our objective. We want that vehicle repaired professionally, back on the road as soon as possible. So how? There's the email address. In the first instance, what we ask is that within 72 hours of the incident occurring, you send a short email to insurance@unfleet.org saying, with the vehicle identification number and a very brief description of what the incident has been. When we receive that email, that triggers a process from our side. We will issue you with, you will get an email in response, which will provide very clear instruction about what the next steps are. And as I say, on the UN Fleet portal, there's an infographic which explains the process in very simple terms. And also there's a document there which, in the terms and conditions, that also explains the process. But the most important thing, which when an incident occurs, it is the responsibility of the office operating that vehicle to notify UN Fleet Insurance that an incident has occurred. Then, as I say, we begin a process to send you the documents, send you instruction about what are the next steps and the procedures to follow. Okay, we just skip to, okay, to the next slide. Yeah. So I think probably one of the easiest things to do here is to look at a number of scenarios that happen. Each one of these are real scenarios. These are not ones we're inventing. So just by looking at a number of scenarios, we'd like to discuss those scenarios and use these scenarios as examples of what the process is. So, and I'm going to ask you to also sort of engage and participate in this. So one of your vehicles has been out on a mission. The windshield of the UN fleet vehicle has been damaged. In this case, it's got bullet holes in it, and it needs to be replaced. So what is the very first thing that the country office operating that vehicle needs to do? What do they need to do?
Report to UN fleet.
I would like, sorry to cut you off, but you're going in the right direction. Can you just put an answer in the chat, please? It would be easier if you could just put what is the next step, if you could write it into the chat, because otherwise it makes the managing of the webinar easier. I think you had the right answer, but can you write it, not say it? Would be great. So can somebody type in what is the first step? The vehicle's come back off mission. We have a damaged windshield. Okay, Tariq. Tariq is a friend of UN Fleet. We know Tariq well, and I would always expect Tariq to respond at any question. Yeah, and Althea also. I think that's the most simply described. Report it to UN Fleet immediately, or report to the fleet manager. Or yes, okay, yeah, I think we've all got it. We write an email reporting the incident to UN Fleet, insurance at UN Fleet. Exactly correct. That is exactly what happens. So if we look at the next slide. Now, in this particular case, the cost of repairing a windscreen is, we know it's less than $1,500 because UN Fleet has a threshold of $1,500, that if the expected cost of repair, and the windshield is a good example, is less than $1,500, we will just authorize immediately to go ahead and make the repair. There is no need to get a quotation for repair from a garage, which is what you'll see in subsequent scenarios. But even though it's a relatively small damage and we do not need a quotation for repair, must submit the vehicle incident report. So what would happen in this scenario is you send a message saying the vehicle windscreen was, somebody threw a brick through it or it got cracked on driving on a road. Then you will probably get an instruction back, complete the vehicle incident report form and proceed with the repair if it is simply the windscreen without further ado. We have now 60 participants. This is actually great news. I'm very impressed. Thanks all of you for joining. This is really great to see so many people participating. Okay, can we move to the next scenario, please? No, sorry, this is sorry, excuse me, I'm jumping ahead. So this is a very simplistic process flow. So the client office, there is an incident. The client office reports the incident within 72 hours. UN Fleet opens the claim file. And when it opens the claim file, it sends you an email with very clear instruction about what is required. This will list the documents that are required to support that claim. So and that might be an estimate for repair. If we say it's a serious damage, we would ask you to take the vehicle to the workshop, get an estimate repair, and one of the documents that you would be requested to supply would be the estimate for repair. Then we look at the situation, we look at the cost of the repair, we look at what the vehicle is, and we make a decision on authorizing you to go ahead and make that repair or not. So you get that approval, you take the vehicle to the garage, or the vehicle is in the garage perhaps. You can instruct the vehicle, the garage, to complete the repair, and then you pay the invoice to the garage, or your office pays the repair to the garage. Then what happens is when you have the repair, the invoice for the final repair, you send that back to UN Fleet, and we do not reimburse you with a payment. But what we do is, if that repair was $2,500, we will add a credit to your next lease invoice. The reason for that is to limit the amount of payments going back and forth. And by general agreement, it works better that we issue a credit note than actually reimbursing you the money that was paid out for the repair. As I say, I can see some questions are coming in. Great, keep those coming. And as I say, we will address all of those questions at the end of the session. All right, so let's look at the next scenario, if we could, please. Okay, here we go. I'm going to ask you the same question, guys. We have a situation here where the vehicle clearly is seriously damaged in a road traffic crash. The vehicle has gone off the road and it's rolled and it's upside down. So what is the next step? This incident has occurred. What is the next step? Could somebody put that into the chat to remind me? What is the first thing that needs to happen as soon as is feasible? Somebody's got to tell me. What are we going to do within 72 hours of this rather unfortunate? I know this particular incident actually took place in Rwanda, and there were 4 people in the vehicle, and they all got out without injury because, you know what? They were all wearing their seatbelts, and they all got out of that vehicle without harm. So, obviously, the answer is to report the incident to UN Fleet, to insurance@unfleet.org. So if we could look, exactly, vehicle incident report immediately. Yeah, Adeline, thank you very much. Yes, Matthews, thank you very much. Yes, let's look at the next. Yes, Stella, you've got it correct. Okay, so here we have a crash. Again, it's exactly the same process flow. Here, client office, the crash occurs, client office reports the incident within 72 hours. UN Fleet opens the claim file, requests the documents that we need back from you. Here, let's just say from this vehicle, that was an old vehicle. It was seriously damaged when it rolled. So the decision from UN Fleet Insurance is not to repair the vehicle. It's not worth it. So it will be determined to be a total loss. So that means at that point, or from the time of the incident, was reported, the lease on that vehicle will be terminated, and we will ask you to ground that vehicle. That vehicle is no longer used, and we will then initiate a process to replace that vehicle. We do that in discussion with you. Of course, you need the new vehicle. So then a new lease vehicle would be ordered, and a new vehicle lease initiated. And UN Fleet will take care of disposal of the damaged vehicle. That's in the case of the total loss happens from time to time. It could be not only a serious crash, it could be a theft or something else. But basically, the process remains the same, but UN Fleet retains the right to make the decision about what happens to that vehicle, to repair or not to repair. Okay. Don't forget to put questions into the chat if you have any. Can we look at the third scenario we created? Oh, well, we haven't changed number 2 to number 3, but no problem. So here we have another incident where a number of vehicles are, this definitely comes under the title of political violence. This was a compound was attacked, a fire was started, these vehicles were set on fire, and quite a number of vehicles were completely destroyed, as you can see. So what's the very first thing to do once this event has happened, what must the office do? I thought if the office might be damaged as well, but nevertheless, there is still what the office must do. Same expectation. Exactly. Same expectation. Send an incident report within 72 hours. That's exactly what happens. Next slide, please. So here we go. It's exactly the same as last time. The incident is reported within 72 hours. UN Fleet opens the claim file, requests supporting documents. Repair decision here is quite obviously a total loss, and then replacement vehicles, it should be plural, or ordered, and then the new lease is initiated. So quite straightforward. You know, it's even if it's a small claim or a big claim, the process remains the same. Good. I see some good. We've got some good questions coming up. We will go through all of your questions later on, but thanks for putting them there. Keep them coming. Let's just look at the last scenario that we have here. So here we have a UN Fleet vehicle hits a motorcycle, resulting in damage to the motorcycle and injuries to the rider and the passenger. Now, in this picture, I don't know where the rider has gone, or maybe it's the passenger, because I can only see one guy flying off the motorcycle. So maybe the rider's already in the back of the pickup truck or something. I don't know quite where he went to. But so we sit the scenario. UN Fleet vehicle hits a motorcycle, damage, injury. What happens here? Oh, great. Look, that's so quick. Althea, you've responded, and with exactly the right answer. Yes, this is a local third-party insurance claim. Exactly the case. Under these circumstances, the client, basically the client that is you, the client agency, must notify the local insurer that you have to tell your local insurer you've had this incident, and then any claim by the motorcycle rider owner will be processed by the local insurer. Now, Althea, actually, in this case, you say inform UN Fleet Insurance. Well, if there is no damage to the UN Fleet vehicle, it is actually not necessary. It's only when there's damage to the vehicle that we need that claim, that we need to be notified. But probably the chances are that if there has been a collision between the motorcycle and the UN Fleet vehicle, so there might be both a UN Fleet insurance claim for damage to the UN Fleet vehicle and a local third-party claim by the motorcyclist and his passenger for damage and perhaps for medical bills and so on. But exactly that, you know, this is a local third-party insurance scenario. Okay, so though I put 1 to 3, but there are actually 4 scenarios we've just discussed. Can we just go to the next slide, Kata? And as I said, I mean, we've got perfect timing here because we just full details of the UN Fleet insurance are available on the UN Fleet portal. And you can just see this tab where there's that little umbrella. I'm not sure if it's the same umbrella that the guy standing in the river was using, but there's a little umbrella here. And if you look at those different icons, we've got an icon for download fleet terms and conditions for light vehicles. We've got another icon, which is a UN Fleet insurance infographic, which describes the process. And then we also have an icon where you can download the vehicle incident reporting form. These are there all the time. I would strongly recommend, have a look at the terms and conditions. They're not hugely complicated, it's not multiple pages, but it explains the process. But the infographic is also very self-explanatory. And I would recommend that just be familiar with those documents, because it's better to be familiar with them and look at them before actually the incident occurs and you have to report. So all the information is there. And of course, if you have any questions or any queries, if you submit them to insurance@unfleet.org, they go into CATA's inbox there. CATA will happily give you whatever information it is you're looking for in response to that. So I think that brings us to the end of the presentation. Thanks very much. So let's just look at some of those questions. So if you wouldn't mind, Dimi, if you could raise those questions, if you could highlight those questions so we could see them.
Yeah, let's Kata, go one by one.
Sorry, is Kata's mic? Is your mic working now, Kata?
Yes, now I think it's back. Thank you.
Oh,
right, you can answer some of the questions then. Now, because I thought you were hiding. You can answer some of the questions. Come on, Kata. Great.
Okay, so the first one is from Sandy. It says, please reconfirm if cost of repair is less than 1,500, no quotation is required.
We can confirm. So under $1,500, you don't need to submit a repair estimate. This is a simplification of the process. And the damaged windshield is a perfect example. You do replace damaged windshields on regular basis. You know that it's going to cost $600. So you don't need to go to the workshop to get the repair estimate. You just submit the mandatory form to us. You fill in what do you expect that the estimated repair cost is going to be, and we authorize the repair.
Okay. Next one from Adeline says, please, who should be reporting to you at fleets? There's a fleet manager. Does anyone report to you and fleet driver or fleet manager instead?
We encourage everyone, if there is an incident, everyone can send the email. So it can be decided in your office who is going to be the focal point for each insurance claim. But as soon as an incident happened, even a driver or the fleet manager or anyone within your office can report the incident to your fleet.
Okay, next one from Ambrose. Is a local traffic police report about the incident a requirement in addition to the incident report from the leasing UN agency office?
The police report we are not going to request. For your internal processes, you might request the police report and get it from the police, but it's not necessary to submit it to UN Fleet. We are not going to request it.
Jamie asking, normally insurance requires authorized mechanical workshops. How does it work here?
So we leverage on your internal processes, on your net of workshop, local workshops. So if the local workshop, if you are used to take your vehicles to a defined workshop, we are going to accept any kind of repair from that workshop. Rob, I don't know if you have anything to add here.
No, that's, I mean, we want the vehicle wherever possible in the terms and conditions of leasing. We request that all vehicles are maintained and repaired in authorized Toyota workshops, if it's a Toyota. But we also understand that not everybody has access to an authorized workshop. So we just recommend that you do it in the workshop that you would normally use. And obviously, we're interested in the reason why we ask for authorized workshops is that we want the quality assurance that the repair has been done professionally. That's what we're interested in. We're interested in a good quality repair because it could have a long-term impact on the value of that vehicle and the operational safety of that vehicle if the repair is not done professionally. So we do recommend wherever possible, it goes to an authorized workshop. If there is no authorized workshop, take it to the best alternative that is available.
Right, Carol. Hello, Carol. Carol is asking, in case of total loss, do you provide rentals while waiting for a new vehicle ordered?
No. Sorry, Kata. Excuse me. Sorry, Kata.
Currently, based on our current processes, we are not providing a replacement vehicle, which might change in the future. But the current process is that we don't provide local, in case commercial leasing of vehicles.
Right, Ambrose is asking, I'm guessing that he's referring to the total loss case. The question is, who keeps the crashed vehicle due for the disposal by the UN fleet until it's disposed of? And what would be the maximum period for disposal after the incident?
So as soon as we confirm in a decision and in an official decision that the vehicle is a total loss, the vehicle must be parked on a safe place and grounded, registration plate completely removed. We are going to get in contact with our asset management unit. We will check when it's the next auction is going to happen, and we will need to try to speed up the process to dispose the vehicle as soon as possible. And we would also request you, in case, to transfer the total loss vehicle to a place where the auction would be held, and give any kind of instructions regarding the vehicle. But we will try to speed up the process and dispose the vehicle as soon as possible.
Right, Adeline, are leased vehicles returned to their place of origin for repairs, or does UN Fleet have a local garage?
We will not have any local garages, so you need to find a local garage where you can repair the vehicle. You repair the vehicle, you request the final invoice, pay for the invoice, and you submit that final invoice to UN Fleet, based on which we will create a credit note and agree on the reimbursement, so which can be kind of offset to the next leasing payment.
Right. Next one, Ambrose. What happens when the UN fleet vehicle causes a fatal accident and the local legal authorities are involved? The vehicle is impounded by local police.
In case you will need to wait until, of course, the vehicle is back in your office, but basically, hopefully, photos can be taken at the scene, and you can already submit the process. So this would not delay the whole process and issuing the decision of total loss in that case. In case of if it's a liability. Yeah, sorry. In case of a third-party liability claim, of course, any kind of potential third-party liability claim must be handled by your local insurer.
Exactly, and I think exactly this. There's a scenario that somebody has been, another road user has been killed or seriously injured by a UN fleet vehicle. This is why your local third-party insurance is so important, because that is the insurance that will cover that. Yes, if the vehicle is impounded, that is a process that needs to be resolved. But I think we need to separate, and this refers to that question about the police report and UN fleet. If the police are involved and there's a fatality or something like that, there is a police process, a legal process that will go on, come what may. That is not within our control. We are not, as UN fleet, we are not interested though in attributing blame or if whose fault was it. We had a question the other day about what happens if somebody takes a vehicle without permission, which has happened. There was a driver who was dismissed. He took a vehicle, he had retained a set of keys. He took the vehicle without permission. He smashed the vehicle up. And the question was, well, what claim do we have against the driver who took the vehicle? Nothing. If we just want that vehicle repaired, if you feel that one of your staff or ex-staff has behaved in an irresponsible or incorrect manner, that's an internal process, a disciplinary process, an HR process, whatever it may be, within your own office. We're not interested in attributing blame, and we're not going to find reasons not to pay. We just want the vehicle, as I've said a couple of times, we want that vehicle repaired and back on the road in the best condition as quickly as possible. If there's an internal HR disciplinary process, that's nothing to do with us. We don't even want to know about it. Would you agree, Kata?
Yes, I fully agree.
Thanks.
Right. So next one is from Mr. Watts. Hello, Mr. Watts. So who will be responsible to the costs related to damage? For example, tow truck, loading, unloading.
Sorry,
if
I
you're-
don't fully.
Yeah, Kato.
Yep.
Let me explain, Kato. Let me take it, Kato. So, okay, there's been an incident. The vehicle was damaged. It's not drivable. So you have costs associated with recovering the vehicle and taking it to the garage for repair. So you have to send the tow truck, and there are costs associated with that. That is part of the claim. We will cover that if it is evidenced with the invoices and of the costs that you had to pay at the time.
All right.
It's almost too good. So this insurance is almost too good to be true. It's such great insurance at such low cost that, I mean, you know, we don't try to avoid paying anything. If there's a genuine cost associated with the damage, UN Fleet will pay it.
But not the tires. So the next question is asking, who replaces the tires during the leasing period?
That's not covered by insurance.
That is what we call normal wear and tear. So, you know, the costs of operating the vehicle, the fuel, the maintenance, the tires, any tax or duty, you know, you might have to pay road tax or something like that. Then that's just a normal cost that you pay for your vehicle. So you pay that.
Right. Loko-san, next one. How long does it take for the UN Fleet unit to replace a damaged vehicle that needs to be replaced?
You mean if in case it's a total loss vehicle? In that case, you will need to place a new leasing request, and we need to, if it's a standard vehicle from the stock, we can already replace the vehicle. So we will try to speed up the process and as soon as possible replace a total loss vehicle.
And it's very difficult to give a precise answer to that question because it depends. Kato just made the point, if we have that vehicle in stock, which if it's a standard vehicle, we probably will. So we can take that vehicle from stock and then we can ship it immediately. But the bits that are not in our control is how long does it take to ship? How long does it take to clear that vehicle through customs on arrival in country? So it's a very difficult one to give a concrete answer to, but we would do, I think Kathy would agree, we will do our utmost to get you a replacement vehicle as quickly as possible.
Right. Omar is asking, does insurance at unfleet.org covers third-party insured fleet? Third-party insured fleet.
Omar, either you joined late or you weren't listening. Third-party insurance must be taken out by the country office. So UN Fleet does not include any third-party liability. And we looked at that scenario of the motorcyclist being hit by a UN Fleet vehicle. So yes, that claim must be processed by your local third-party insurance. That's the only thing I think, and this is really important distinction. It is understanding that a third-party claim against your organization cannot be covered through UN Fleet. It's the only thing that I think that we don't cover in this discussion.
Right, the last one I see on the chat from Althea, photos have to be sent along with the incident report to UN Fleet.
No, the initial note regarding an incident, it must be a very simple email. That an incident happened. We would appreciate if you would already give a short description, if there are any injuries, fatalities, if you could give us any chassis number or this UN Fleet identification number of the vehicle would be very helpful. But you would have 60 days to provide all the necessary documents to UN Fleet regarding the damage, which might be the repair estimate, the photos, and this vehicle incident report form.
Right.
But of course, photos, I have to say, if photos are available, they're enormously helpful. And because when you submit the photos, it gives us an idea very quickly about the extent of the damage. So if photos are available, excellent, send. If they're not available, it's not a requirement.
Okay. So next one, Lokosang, where there is a recommendation for replacement of a vehicle by UN Fleet unit, is there going to be a new agreement for the lease of the old lease for the previous damaged vehicle stand in terms of time lapse? I think that was covered. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. So the old lease is going to be kind of terminated, and there will be a new leasing request, and the new lease is going to take place and replace the old leasing request.
Okay, a good one from Sela. Who initially buys the car? How much are the insurance premiums contributed for each vehicle? So a costing question.
The vehicle is purchased by UN Fleet. You need to pay the monthly base lease rate, which already includes the insurance contribution. So all the lease rates published on the portal, they already include the insurance contribution for this insurance coverage.
Exactly. This is very important. We don't have a precise figure of what that insurance cost is. We factor it into our monthly rate. We can't separate it out, but it's also extremely important to understand that there is no additional payment on top of the monthly lease rate that is required from the client office for that insurance. And that's to say, the quality of the insurance, it's when we look at commercial insurance, there are a number of different qualities of insurance. How much is the coverage? What does it cover? And how easy is or complex is the claims process? And I think if you compare the UN Fleet insurance with any commercial insurance, we are better coverage at a lower price with a quicker process. So it's really, really an excellent, a really outstanding part of the UN Fleet leasing offer.
Althea is asking, normal wear and tear will be paid by the hiring office, or will it also be reimbursed?
Normal wear and tear is not part of this insurance coverage, so it must be paid by your office.
Okay, so that was the last question I see on the chat. If anybody has any other question.
That's great. Thank you very much for your questions. I really hope that the presentation is one thing, but the questions are really useful. And so I hope that they enable you to understand better the process. As I said before, please don't hesitate to go on to the UN Fleet portal. Other documents are there. And of course, if you have any questions, any queries, or any uncertainty, don't hesitate to contact Kata and she manages the insurance at unfleet.org mailbox. So she will, you will get a response to any query that you choose to put into that mailbox. So great, thank you very much, everybody. Really,
Rob, sorry to interrupt you. There's a last question, and I think it's really it's a good question, and it will give some food for thought. So the question goes: when compared to UN Web Buy, the vehicle selections are limited. Will this be improved with time? Not really an insurance question, but I think
that's a good question. Fair enough.
Yep.
Of course. I mean, there's a very important distinction between the UN Fleet offer and Web Buy. UN Fleet holds vehicles in stock. We have, I don't know, at any given time, between 1,000, 1,300 vehicles in stock. Web Buy doesn't hold vehicles in stock. Therefore, they can offer a bigger range. Because if we want to add another vehicle, we then have to have left-hand drive, right-hand drive, and a number of other permutations. So it makes our stock holding and stock management much more complex. And with complexity, you have cost. So we're trying to keep that range of vehicles to a minimum. Currently, working with UNHR and WFP, we have more than 10,000 vehicles on lease today. 85% of those vehicles are the standard vehicles available from UN Fleet. And also, I would say, if you go onto WebBuy now, today, you go and see what is actually available. If you try and buy any Toyota on WebBuy, they will tell you it's not available. There is a shortage of vehicles. So it's a completely different proposal, completely different business model that WebBuy is proposing. But your key question was the number of vehicles that we have available. We are deliberately keeping the standard vehicles to a minimum to ensure that we can hold stock. We are planning to add electric vehicles. We've been providing Nissan Leafs. We are looking to provide hybrid vehicles because we know there is a demand for these vehicles, but we are negotiating with the suppliers to be able to have sufficient quantities that we can hold those in stock. That's a very long answer to quite a simple question, I have to say. But yes, we want to expand the number of vehicles, but it will never be as big as the list of vehicles that you can see in WebBuy. I hope that answers your question.
I think we still have 5 minutes. We can still take a couple of more questions. Omar is asking about the recording. Yes, it will be shared with everybody. We will post it on YouTube, on the UN Fleet YouTube channel, and then it will be visible to everybody, available to everybody. Lokosang, are there exceptions for the insurance coverage for the UN Fleet vehicles, or is it comprehensive for all the incidents that may occur?
I don't like the word comprehensive because that is a description of a very specific type of commercial insurance. We, as we said in one of the earlier slides, we cover any damage, loss or damage to that vehicle. And I think comprehensive insurance is offered by, comprehensive often includes third-party insurance bundled into it, which is why I tend to avoid the use of the word comprehensive. So we offer full loss or damage insurance for all UN Fleet vehicles for the duration of the lease. So when the vehicle arrives in country, it is insured. To the day it is decommissioned and taken for disposal, that vehicle is insured for all loss or damage. I hope that answers the question.
Matthews from UNFPA Malawi. Hello, Matthews. So the prices of repair here in Malawi are expensive as the vehicles are purchased duty-free while the suppliers change repair and maintenance regardless of the purchase price, which means the windscreen repair of 1,500 each cannot apply the way business are set up here. Do you provide exceptions in this case? So he's actually asking about expensive repairs, yeah.
What we do is if the cost of the repair is going to be in excess of 1,500, we ask for an estimate from the garage, and we make that decision based on that estimate. If you take the vehicle to a Toyota workshop and they come back with an official quotation from an official Toyota workshop, UN Fleet will accept that and will pay it. Okay. Whether you perceive it to be expensive or cheap, we want that vehicle repaired to the quality that we know we will get in a Toyota workshop.
Right. So I don't see any other questions. I guess that will be all. Thank you very much for joining this webinar. Like I said, it will be posted on our YouTube channel and it will be available for everybody. Thank you very much. So have a nice end of the day wherever you are. So greetings from UN Fleet. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.